I'd like to call the March 16th, 2026 meeting to order. And if you're able, if you could please stand and join Councilor Cordero leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Senath, roll call, please.
Councilor Ouellette? Councilor Pendleton?
Present.
Councilor Cordero? Here. Deputy Mayor Paterna?
Here.
Mayor Zimmerman?
Here.
Councilor Delnicki?
Here.
Councilor Fitzgerald? Here. Councilor King? Here. Councilor Balboni?
All right, thank you. And on behalf of the council, I want to wish you a happy birthday, Mrs. Senath. Working on your birthday tonight. Hopefully we'll won't quite ask as many questions and we'll get out of here a little early. Mayor's remarks. The first thing is I want to turn the microphone over to Sandy Westbrook, who's going to talk about America 250 program, the commemoration program.
Oh, it's not red until you push, sorry. Okay, thank you for having me come, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that the meeting we had, you suggested that we come and tell you a little bit more about what the Historical Society has taken on for this 250th anniversary. I hope that you know that this year is the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. There is a national 250 committee. There is a state 250 committee. And although they are working on different things, especially the state one has been encouraging local historical societies to do locally to bring their community together to celebrate this. We are an affiliate to the State Commission, and we are trying to make local groups aware of the many resources prepared by the State Commission and the Connecticut Humanities. The 4 Connecticut themes for this anniversary are the power of place, telling inclusive stories, doing history, and for the common good. In April and September of 2025, we sent a message to groups and organizations in South Windsor and invited them to join us for a meeting about the 250th. And we encouraged all of them to think about ways that maybe they could celebrate or acknowledge this anniversary. We suggested that they not necessarily come up with something new, but that they take something that they do frequently and give it an American 250 twist. And the South Windsor Community Women's Club has already planned a program co-sponsored by the Mary J. Etter Public Library, introducing Abigail Adams to our community, either in April or May. The Society also suggested that groups prepare a history of their organization to add to our archives. The Declaration of Independence may have been written 250 years ago, but it still looms large in our nation's growth and memory. It broke the bonds of the American colonies to that of the king by stating, all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. The South Windsor Historical Society is planning to celebrate our beginning, as well as many of the events and residents who have helped South Windsor grow during the last 250 years. Our historical society has joined with the historical societies of Manchester, Bolton, and Glastonbury to co-sponsor 4 presentations by Dr. Matt Warschauer. The first program, the Declaration of Independence, was held in Manchester on November 11th of last year. The next program will be held on March 25th at 7 p.m. at the South Windsor High School Annex on Ayers Road and is co-sponsored with the public schools. Dr. Warschauer will speak on Connecticut and the American Revolution. What he says is everybody knows about Massachusetts, what was going on in Connecticut. He is a professor of history at Central Connecticut State University and is fascinated by what he calls the American paradox, the challenge of trying to be true to our founding documents and the difficulties of pursuing essential ideas of freedom. And he has spent the last 30 years exploring the great American experiment in self-government. The third and fourth programs will be held in Bolton and Glastonbury, respectively. We encourage everyone to attend these programs. Dr. Warschauer is a wonderful speaker, and he really brings our history alive and makes you feel like you're part of it, and he connects that history to the present. One of our committee members, Steve Armstrong, a retired CCSU professor, will be presenting 3 programs on different historical topics at the South Windsor Senior Center, one in April, one in May, and one in June. Another program we're planning is From Liberty to Legacy on April 30th. This program will use clips from the Broadway musicals 1776 and Hamilton to discuss the different ways we've looked at the founding of our nation. To commemorate the actual signing of the Declaration, we are planning a townwide picnic on July 15th. That was the date that the Declaration was printed in what was then called the Connecticut Current. This will feature a reading of the Declaration, possibly by town officials, games for children, and other activities. We hope that South Windsor residents will attend some or all of these programs to learn more about how our country started and how important this start has been for the last 250 years. And I skipped a paragraph, I'm sorry. We started in the fall holding what we're calling lawn chair chats. These chats are just informal gatherings of people from that area, and we talk about the history of that area as the people who live there know it. We may be able to tell them more about the history. They may be able to tell us a lot more about the history. We had our first lawn chair chat on Main Street, and then we had one at the Wapping Community Church and the First Congregational Church. And as soon as the weather gets a little bit warmer, we'll be starting our lawn chair chats again and trying to get to the history of Long Hill Road, maybe Dart Hill Road and Niederwiffer Road, places that people may or may not know very much about. And it has been very interesting. They've been well attended. The people who come are interesting, and we've learned a lot about the areas. That's all I have. Do you have any questions? No?
Somebody have? Thank you very much for what you and your group are doing, and I know we'll hear more, as we get closer to July.
We will keep you posted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so I had 2 quick things to cover under the Mayor's Forum. One is a reminder that the Mayor's Forum on Business Development has been rescheduled to Monday, March 30th. Just want to read what the purpose is to remind people. We really do hope that we can get a room full of people. There's a panel that we've invited from throughout the state. I think it's going to be really, really helpful, but the purpose is South Windsor's position to grow, but competition for new businesses and investment is stronger than ever. This Mayor's Forum brings together regional, municipal, and private sector leaders to explore how South Windsor can remain competitive by using smart, targeted economic tools, including performance-based tax abatements. The discussion will focus on attracting new employers, encouraging reinvestment, and expanding the commercial base while maintaining fiscal responsibility. Again, we hope to see a number of you either in person or watching, on TV. And then the other thing, I just wanted to remind people that this Wednesday, we'll be hosting our annual joint budget meeting with the Board of Ed. It's this Wednesday, 7 p.m., the high school annex on Ayers Road. While this is going to be a very difficult budget year with challenging requests and many of our taxpayers facing rising costs for insurance, food, utilities, and other necessary purchases, with this background information, hopefully we can have a respectful and productive discussion with our fellow town leaders on the board. I personally am looking forward to starting a public discussion with Dr. Carter on how we can meet their current needs, driven by increasing enrollment and general cost increases, but maybe even more importantly, planning for future staff and facility needs, while also understanding our need for additional revenue to limit any large increases in property taxes. I'm always amazed is probably the wrong word, how few people actually attend discussions when this council decides, what we're gonna try to raise in taxes. Hopefully everybody will be part of the process. And again, it starts this Wednesday, or it continues this Wednesday. 7 p.m., High School Annex on Ayers Road. All right, that's all I have. Number 5 is adoption of the agenda. Deputy Mayor Paterna.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt the agenda as presented with 2 changes. One, under executive session, I'd like to move item A, matters concerning security or deployment of security personnel, to just after the public input section on our agenda. I'd also like to delete item B, since there is no update presently for this lawsuit. And C will remain as an executive session at item 17 in the agenda.
All right, is there a second to that adjusted?
Second.
All right. Any questions, concerns? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. We are up to item 6, communications and reports from the town manager, Mr. Maniscalco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kind of changed things up a little bit tonight since I have my budget presentation. I thought it would be good with spring upon us to get our Parks and Rec director in here to talk to all of you about their upcoming programming and the most recent documents that came out to everybody in the news or in their mailboxes recently. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Molly Keys.
All right, good evening, everyone. I know all of you are residents, but I did bring some extra just in case you didn't happen to see them yet. But our Park and Recreation magazine just came in the mail in the last week. Hopefully everyone has received it in town. And tonight I'm just going to share a brief update on some of the things spring and summer. So as everyone knows, our department offers a wide variety of youth, teen, and adult programs designed to keep our residents and the community active at every stage of life. So our seasonal brochure, it's a 70-page guide this spring and summer. We have a lot going on. And it's just really outlining what's available to our residents throughout the spring, so April all the way through the end of August. So we're really excited to highlight many of our returning favorite programs, our community events, and several new offerings. So some program offerings that I wanted to note in our brochure that are newer this year or that we're really excited about would be our parent-child pickleball lessons in May. As we know, pickleball is a growing sport. Everyone loves the leagues, the lessons, so we're going to be doing some parent-child pickleball lessons. We have Bollywood Zumba, so we started doing that this past year. So we are going to be offering that this spring and summer. Aqua Zumba, which is a favorite when VMP is open. our cornhole league, which has become increasingly popular over the last 3 years. It's been a full program. People want more and more cornhole, so it's been a really cool adult program. Our pickleball league, and then we have a ton of special events going on. To highlight a few special events to keep on your radar. So to kick it off, Dave Turkington actually is hosting a community tree planting event that we're going to be posting about on Earth Day, so April 22nd from 1 to 3 at Rise Street Park, so you can learn how to properly plant a tree. And we're going to be planting some trees at Rise Street, so it'll be a really good community effort. We have our annual egg hunt. Easter's super early this year, so it's going to be on April 3rd. So we're going to be doing that over at the turf field from 10 a.m. to 11:15. And then in May, on May 9th, we have our fishing derby. We do that on Barber Hill Road. We have our pond over there, so we're going to be doing that. And the farmers market opens up for the season on June 6th. So that is a big one for us. We run every Saturday from June all the way until the start of October. And then our summer concert series kicks off July 2nd, and that's going to run through August 20th. And that's at Evergreen Walk every single Thursday from 7 to 9. And we are actually going to be hosting 2 movie nights this summer at the pool, which is, we had, I think 2 years ago, we tried to start a movie night, and we had some trial and error, but people liked it, so we brought it back last year. We had a huge turnout, so we thought we would add a second one for the summer. And then we also are going to be hosting something new that we just started, which is called a really, really free market. So that is something that people are doing all over the country. It's the premise of giving and sharing and keeping usable items out of landfill. So, you know, people can come, they can have a spot, and you just trade used items, but you have to take everything that you bring, so we can't leave it in our department for anyone. But that is a new thing that we're going to be offering twice this year. We did offer it about a month ago, and everything was taken. So that was a really cool turnout for that event. I can't bring up spring and summer without saying summer camp, right? So that's a huge focus of our department. We offer programs for a wide variety of ages, from Little Explorers, our in-house, which is 3 to 5, Trailblazers, which is 5 to 9, Camp Discovery, which is 5 to 11, Adventure Unit 11 to 15, and then we have our Junior Navigators program and our Navigators program, which is for grade, it's like 6 through 15 for Navigators, and then, or 21, sorry. And then we have camps running from June 29th to August 21st, and we're going to be adding some new trips this year. The older kids are going to Topgolf, for example. Very excited about that, I'm sure. And we have some new entertainment and activities. But for residents that do not get into our in-house summer camp program, or if they're looking for half day or something a little bit different, we offer about 70 other options for the summer. So you can do everything from our Food Explorers, which is cooking camps for full days, to piano camps, to theater camps, to learning how to make movies. You have Mad Science, you have sport camps of every single sport. So parents have the opportunity to sign their kids up for half day, full day, specialty, and then our in-house summer camp programs. Another big thing in the summer, Veterans Memorial Pool. So we're already in the process of hiring, so if anyone wants to become a lifeguard, we're always looking for lifeguards. We will be open for the season on May 30th. Hopefully the weather cooperates. We're going to be opening for limited hours, typically until about school gets out, so around June 19th, and then we'll move to full hours from June 20th all the way until August 31st. This year we are adding a few new things. We're doing an introduction to diving class for our youth and adults on top of traditional swim lessons and aqua Zumba. We're going to be doing a master's swim meet, so anyone 18 plus, you were a swimmer back in the day, does not matter. There's an age group for you to come swim. And then we have the additional dive-in movie, along with our swim lessons and our traditional events over there. We do have a ton of stuff going on this summer, so I really encourage everyone to look through our magazine and come enjoy a free event that we have in the community. Just for people listening as well, resident summer camp registration opens on March 25th at 8 a.m. Swim lessons and additional programs will open on April 1st. and non-resident registration will begin on April 8th. And I'm encouraging everyone to make sure their rec desk accounts, which is our online account to register, are up to date and that their payment information is accurate ahead of things opening for registration. If you're interested in buying a pool pass, those are currently on sale. We are actually doing a $10 discount for family memberships through April 1st. And this year we're also piloting monthly memberships in addition to our traditional full season passes for folks that maybe travel throughout the summer or know they're only going to use the pool in the month of July because June's too cold for them, vice versa, any of that stuff. At the end of the day, we're just really excited to get back out there. The last big piece I want to say about our brochure, we did highlight our parks crew this year, so we have everyone that works for our parks division from Dave Turkington and Duncan all the way through our maintainer 3s, maintainer 2s, and maintainer 1s. So it was a really neat opportunity to highlight our parks crew and all the fantastic work that they do and who they are as people. So definitely take a read on that. But we're just really excited, and I just want you guys to know our team does remain committed to creating those spaces and programs and events that bring our community together and make South Windsor just a great place to live and work and play. So we look forward to seeing you guys around this spring and summer. And if you need anything or if you have any questions, please contact our office. We're happy to help. So, thank you.
I think we're going to have a couple questions. Councilor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hey, Molly.
Hey.
If someone wants to apply to be a lifeguard, but they are not certified to be a lifeguard, do you guys teach them or certify them?
Yes, so we do offer lifeguarding as well as WSI courses. So you can, if you are actually interested in teaching swim lessons, we also offer those courses as well.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Deputy Mayor Paterna.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Molly, thanks very much for the presentation. I just want to compliment you and the staff on that wonderful brochure. I mean, that really has a dramatic effect when people open that book to see what's happening in South Windsor. And I also want to commend you on paying attention to serving all age groups in town. That's amazing. I was taking someone on a tour of South Windsor, or going down Main Street, and I pointed out the Board of Education building, and there were all these cars parked on Main Street. And he said to me, wow, the Board of Education must be busy. I said, no, that's our pickleball league. So the place is just jammed. So thank you. Thank your staff for all the great work they do. And I'm looking forward to seeing them at the farmers market this summer. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say my staff did an incredible job on the brochure. We do it in-house, so it really is very meticulous. It takes a lot of time and effort. For example, Stephanie is on our team, and she's really great at putting together like Canva, flyers and doing all the marketing pieces. And all of our recreation staff have to have the information like 6 months in advance. So they do a fantastic job with that. So thank you.
So, Molly, just a couple things. As a former chairman of the Park and Rec Commission, I'm not supposed to have favorite departments, but I can remember growing up here, moving in when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and Jim Snow, I believe, was the first rec director, and they did a phenomenal job back then. But there was, if you compare it then to now, I mean, it was more sports programs. It was, to Deputy Mayor Paterna, you guys have really, with Ray Favreau and others, but you guys have really taken this to another level. Just the breadth of the stuff that's offered. Sometimes people like me talk about what we don't have in town, and I think one of the things that you guys do phenomenal is you work with what we do have. In a perfect world, you'd have more room for outdoor camp on bedding, and you probably have 50 other ideas, for hopefully down the road when maybe we catch up a little bit with some of the other things. But your staff's doing an amazing job. I'm looking forward to when you come in to give your budget. It's the first time I'll be sitting up here, so we can have a discussion, because I think some people don't fully understand kind of the two budgets and just how many programs you run that doesn't cost any of us $1 unless we participate in those programs. That's the vast majority of what you guys do. And I'll end with, I'm glad you said something about the Parks Department. You know, often you hear, well, that's somebody's job. Correct, but I can't tell you how many times that, you know, I would be delivering food or something to Rotary Field because we have games that night, and I literally would get there at 7 a.m. thinking I'd be the only one there. Well, obviously, your park staff, it's not that they're there, it's that it's full out. We're getting these places ready as if the Red Sox and the Yankees were playing.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. You can do the job, or you can really care, you know, terribly about your job and your staff, and obviously it starts at the top. So I just want to thank you for that. Anybody else have any questions? Councilor Pendleton, Councilor Delnicki, anything? All right, we're going to move on.
No, all set, thank you.
All right,
Awesome.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to move on to public comment. I'm assuming there's a few people that are here for public comment since I saw some people sign up. All right, so I'll just read this. Public input shall not exceed 30 minutes. When recognized by the mayor, the speaker shall approach the lectern, give their name and address. Speakers shall avoid personal attacks or impugning or alleging an improper motive to any person. The speaker may address the council on any matter within our jurisdiction. The speaker shall limit their speaking time to 5 minutes. Mrs. Senerth will keep track. Most people are done in 3 minutes. If you're not quite done at 5, I'll ask you if you can, you know, kind of finish up. The town council does not respond at the same meeting you speak to us. And again, if there's anybody who would like to speak, if we have some people that have already signed up, we'll go in that order and then open it up to the rest of the room. And just a reminder, there will be another opportunity for public comment at the end of the meeting. And I apologize if I don't pronounce names well. So the first person is Doug, and is it Gugino? Gugino.
Move your hand. My name is Doug Gugino. I live at 55 Chapel Road. So there'll be a budget item coming. I don't know when it'll come to you, but I don't think it's bonded yet, but the reconstruction of Chapel Road from Main Street to John Fitch. So that came up a year or so ago, and there was a pretty dramatic effect on the street. They were going from 22-foot wide right away to 36. Fully 10 of it was going to be a bike path. So I think that's been mothballed completely, because if you go to that section of road, houses are right on the road. I mean, it should be classified sort of a rural road. So you come down from John Fitch and you cross the Podunk, and then you're in this very tiny little Chapel Road on the way to Main Street. So some of the houses are like right there. So, but the project wasn't bonded at that time. I don't know when it's going to come up to you again. But if that is fully mothballed, we're saving money by not building that bike path. And even though it's designated as a trailway, it's only because of 291. It happens to have a bike path over the bridge. Otherwise, Chapel Road would never be designated as this bike pathway. And it's only, my opinion, only through bikers that go through it. But anyway, we also asked the town to delay the reconstruction project so that we can, as homeowners, bring the extension of the distribution water main from Main Street as a project. For some reason, that section of Chapel Road was against it in the past. North King has Main, Pleasant Valley, Governor's Highway, Strong. I always forget the name of the other road, but I'm not sure if they have it. But so for whatever reason, this little section, this little tiny little section of road needs reconstruction. So I just came from the MDC meeting, and there's the majority of homeowners are against it because the town is not a member town, and you get a $95 per foot assessment, and that's kind of a vestige of the past because you're serving a house. The fact that somebody has 200-foot frontage and somebody has 90-foot frontage, it's only one connection, but still it's by square foot, so that's just the vestige. It's interesting. And likely it's going to get voted down, even though the majority of homeowners gave their opinion as, no, I don't want it, because of a $2 million project, $250,000 is assessments. Now, that $2 million is going to be less because the road doesn't need to be reconstructed. So there's savings there to the effect of the MDC. I don't know, this is the other name I was going to write down is Don Quixote, because I know we saved the town $250,000 by opposing the bike path. I know the MDC is saving $250,000 by not having to dig up after you've got a paved road. The assessments to the residents are $250,000, but it's just not a thing that a town does, because it wasn't done in the past. Now, that section of Chapel Road has some farm zoning that's going to be under pressure soon, but that's okay. So all I did, I wanted to take advantage of this meeting being right after the MDC meeting, so while it's still top of mind, I could give you sort of what's going on with that section of Chapel Road. I don't know when the project's going to come to you. I think it was Project 8 of the unbonded road reconstruction project in the past. But I think the town has been generally positive of the project, but that's not taken in, I'm not sure how strongly that's taken into the commission's decision making. I know there's not fire hydrants at the end of the road. Maybe within 1,000 feet of Main Street, some of the houses are covered, but not down the road. So anyway, thank you. That's about all I got.
Thank you. Perfect timing. Ray Paulin.
My name is Ray Paulin. I live at 25 Mohegan Trail. I am not one of those superintendents that ask for an 8% budget increase hoping to get 6.
Excuse me, Ray. Could you just help me, because I have a little trouble hearing. Can you just get a little closer? Thank you.
The words of Dr. Carter on becoming South Windsor Superintendent of Schools in 2010. Here we are. The Board of Ed is asking for an 8.2% budget increase in fiscal 27, taken together with a 3 to 4% general government budget increase, offset by a measly 0.5% increase in the grand list, results in around a 6% increase in total taxes. This in a year of 3% increases, inflation, senior Social Security checks, even teachers' salaries. Last month, I reviewed fiscal year 26 Board of Ed budget asks and approvals for 14 surrounding towns, and noted that South Windsor's ask increase was second highest only to West Hartford's. For fiscal year 27, all I need to do is check West Hartford's Board of Ed ask. Well, it's 6.6%. So I can confidently say that the South Windsor Board of Ed has gone to the head of the class with the highest fiscal year 27 budget ask increase of any of our reference and neighboring towns. In fact, I suspect the highest increase of any comparable school district in the state. In fiscal year 27, unable to use enrollment growth, the Board of Ed pivoted to healthcare and special education for its outlier reserve bloated budget. Together, these two accounts drive almost half of the $8.1 million increase, including over $1 million in bolstered reserves. You need to ask the hard questions of these two accounts that the Board of Ed won't when you meet with them in joint work session on Wednesday. In fiscal year 26, the budget ask was reduced by $1.3 million taken mostly out of reserves by the Board of Ed. But budgeted new enrollment was short by a whopping 93 pupils, which at our dollar per pupil is a budget windfall surplus of $1.7 million, more than offsetting the budget reduction. So the Board of Ed was back to its budget ask, which included no reserve drawdowns. So which is it, budget surplus or reserve drawdowns? You can't have it both ways. Previous superintendents have used healthcare to offset budget reductions by contracting lower insurance quotes than in their ask. You need to see all of the insurance quotes, not only the one in the budget. The superintendent says that the current healthcare reserve of 2.5 months, 20.7%, is below the self-insured industry 3-month standard, 25%. You need to request the estimated fiscal year 26 year-end reserve percentage. Special education needs to be a conversation, not the special services programming, but who pays for it. In fiscal year 26, South Windsor had 699 special students, 95% out of district. High-cost students are capped by the state at 4.5 times the dollar per pupil. Currently, that's the first $84,000 for us. So the more South Windsor spends, the more it pays. You need to request South Windsor's fiscal year 27 special student enrollment projection, both in-house and out of district. Also request the estimated fiscal year 26 year-end reserve, and as in healthcare, what is the industry standard for special education reserves? If you do not ask these probing questions on Wednesday, that will be the tip-off that we have 2 boards of education. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I apologize. I can see David, but I can't see the last name. Okay, why don't you come right up?
Thank you, David Burchard, 90 Beelzebub Road. It has come to my attention recently that South Windsor is utilizing a AI-powered mass surveillance system from the company Flock Safety. It is essentially a system designed to identify each individual within its area of effect, track that person's movements over time, and record where they're going. All of that gets fed into their Flock Nova analytics platform, which infers what they're doing and who they're doing those things with. All of this data is, according to the Flock contract, owned by the town and accessible to the town to look up anyone they want and retroactively figure out who they've been talking to, where they've been going, and so forth. Now, all of this theoretically is to reduce crime. There is some evidence that it helps reduce the amount of time it takes to recover stolen vehicles. However, there's no evidence that it prevents violent crime. If you look at the Flock website, they make some grand claims. They have a research paper backing it up, which was authored by Flock employees, so that doesn't exactly hold water. But obviously, I have some issues with this. Now, we could talk about a few different aspects of this. There are some cybersecurity concerns. For example, Flock Condor cameras, it was revealed about a month ago, are streaming their video over the internet. Anyone who knows how to use a search engine can find that video, watch it in real time, watch past recordings, and there's a handy delete button. If there's anything you don't like, you can just delete it, no password required. It's open to the internet. There are issues with accuracy. We have, unfortunately, a growing mound of cases where people have been identified as Flock as criminals. They are treated as such by the police. They're pulled out of their car at gunpoint, and only after they're face down on the asphalt with guns in their back do the police realize that Flock got it wrong again. There are plenty of these cases. The internet will share plenty with you if you ask it. There are also issues with abuse. We've seen stalkers using this system, the data is not limited to just the police. I'll get to that in a moment. But there are plenty of cases of individuals using it in illegal ways. So I am more concerned, though, with the legal aspect of this. The Fourth Amendment guarantees me protection against unreasonable search and seizure, and the courts have ruled over and over again that encompasses privacy rights. Now, we also have specific court precedents around the tracking of an individual's movements. So if you want to get more specific, there are plenty of these as well. Carpenter versus United States, 2018. United States versus Jones, 2012. Both of those, for example, the courts ruled tracking the movements of an individual over time required a search warrant. The warrant requires the subject of the search to be specified, the time frame for that search or surveillance to occur, and, of course, the signature of a judge. What Flock is doing is recording all of the movements and behaviors of everyone in his area of control as best it can based on the sensors that we have deployed in town, and using all of that, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my outline and realizing I'm getting lost. It's collecting all of this data on every single person. And so we're not talking about it surveilling one individual person without a warrant. We're talking about it surveilling every individual person without a warrant. No time frame and no judge signature. If you want to take it farther, though, in 2018, the Connecticut Data Privacy Act was passed, which guarantees me the right to go to any company holding data about me and demand that they restrict their sharing and sale of my data or demand its deletion and the cessation of further collection. In the Flock contract, you have the one copy that the police department holds, but you are also granting the Flock corporate a second copy of that data. It's a complete royalty-free copy. They don't have to pay you for that data. They hold that data and they guarantee themselves the right to use it any way they see fit, including sharing and sale to others without notifying the customer, South Windsor, or the subject, me. So, I have concerns about this platform violating Fourth Amendment and the Connecticut Data Privacy Act. I hope that we might follow the town of Windsor's example. A few weeks ago, they disabled their Flock systems specifically because of privacy concerns. I hope you folks might consider similarly.
Thank you. Mark DeCiencia. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark DeCiencia, 39 Debbie Drive, South Windsor, lifelong citizen. I'm here to talk about item 17 on the agenda, C, the discussion of Buckland Gateway project. As of February 5th of 2026, we have a total of 11 tax rebates outstanding. We have 2 that are due in 2026, 1 that's due in 2027, 6 that are due in 2028, and we also have 1 of 2029 and 1 in 2032. We also have a possibility of another tax rebate with the Buckland Gateway project. That will be 7 years, and that would be due in 2033. All this is on the hard backs of the hardworking taxpayers. With discussion of a new high school, with the discussion of a well-needed recreation center, and yes, the senior citizen center busting at the seams. This Gateway project was approved some time ago. What tells me is, with my experience, the land that's cleared there now tells me that Metro Realtors or Hayes Construction would have done this project with or without a rebate, just by my experience in looking at the land right now and clearing it. As you all know, Metro also has another project on Deming Street, so I'm sure there's not a lack of funds right now at this point in time. Remember, this is all done on hardworking taxpayers. This tells me sometimes I think the town manager is a commercial real estate broker. If I rented a bus today and put all of you on a bus, and we started at Lowell's and drove down Buckland Road, entering Sullivan Avenue, continuing all the way down Sullivan Avenue, take a left on Route 5, and take a left at the end of Route 5 on Chapel Road, and get to the center, I bet none of you guys could tell me how many commercial vacancies there are in this town, let alone some of the commercial property that's sitting there and should be investigated by the Bryce ordinance. We got all this property and all these ordinances, and we do absolutely nothing about it. So this tells me, with another rebate for 7 years that ends in 2032, off the backs of the hard-working taxpayer, this doesn't mean nothing. So I think before we step all these budgets and have this fantastic team meeting on Wednesday night at the South Windsor Annex, I think we should address how we shouldn't take a tax abatement. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to the council at this time? All right, seeing none, we're going to go to item, I think it's 17A, and Deputy Mayor Paterno.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we go into executive session, item A, to discuss matters concerning security, strategy, or the deployment of security personnel or devices affecting public security. And I'd like to invite Town Manager and the Town Attorney to join us.
Can you also invite Mr. Paul Boutot?
Yes, thank you.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, and just to let the public know, or the people here know, I'm guessing this is Mr. Mesco, 10, 15 minutes? All right, and then we'll be back. All right, thank you. Oh, you voted, right?
All those in favor?
Can we,
Can I do a vote?
okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Counselor Pendleton and Counselor Delnicki, you with us again?
Yes, we're
Yes.
here.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 8. Counselor Pendleton, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
Okay. Just grabbing my glasses. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay, yes.
Okay, here we go. Adoption of minutes of previous meeting. Approval of the March 2nd, 2026 Town Council regular meeting minutes. Be it resolved that South Windsor Town Council hereby approves the minutes of the regular Town Council meeting of March 2nd, 2026.
Thank you. Second, any questions, comments? If not, we'll
I
go on
have
to voting.
comment.
All those in favor, aye?
Uh,
Oh,
uh,
Counselor
I-
Delnicki?
Yeah, okay, now I got my picture up.
Okay.
Yes, I have a correction for item 17, executive session.
Yeah,
We need to have a list of the town councilors who attended the executive session. They need to be listed on the minutes. And also, the town manager was there as well.
okay, so we can add those names to the executive session. Thank you, Counselor Delnicki.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or corrections? If not, we'll go on to voting. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
minutes have been approved. Thank you. Item 9, communications from liaisons, officers, and boards directly responsible to the council. Any reports? Hearing none, we'll go on to 10 reports from committees. Any reports from committee work? All right, hearing, yes. Counselor King.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I'm not sure if this should probably fall under the communication from the liaison or the officers.
Yes.
I haven't had a chance to talk to Councilor Follett yet, but I don't want to see anybody from the Energy Commission outside of my house, so I'm going to comment on the meeting that I went to, because they'll say, why didn't you talk at your town council meeting? So the Energy Committee met last week, and there's a bunch of things that they have going on. One in particular is on April 18th, is the Earth Day from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. I guess they're doing in conjunction, if I took my notes correctly, with the Parks and Rec, and they'll have a booth there, so they're excited to be putting that on. One of the comments, well, a bunch of comments, but one of the things that they're talking about, and I'll be bringing this up with my colleague, Mr. Cordero, at our next meeting, is taking the count of the committee to 7 with 3 alternates. And part of those 3 alternates, what they would like to do and to see is have one, if not more, be part of our youth. So they would like to see some of the kids from the school, similar to what we did with the the committee that we had with the vision of the town and all those types of things, where we had somebody from the high school and somebody from the middle school. Yeah. Exactly. So they would like to have something like that going along with the Energy Committee. There's a whole number of things that they did discuss, but they are going to be putting together a plan to present to us, and then obviously we'll talk about it in our own committee meeting. It was very, very well attended. And I'm excited by the fact that they cared enough to say, hey, this is what we need to do. You know, thank you for putting it in front of us. So the big thing, though, is taking their number down so that they can have a quorum, and that's that 7, but also to add some of the youth, because they figure, you know, there's probably a bunch of ideas in regards to energy that they can bring, especially going, if you went to any of their science programs, you know. So thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we're up to, and thank you. We're up to the first consent agenda. It's 11A. Councilor Delnicki.
Thank you. Motion to approve 11A1 as a first reading on the consent agenda. Resolution appointing Deborah Mascone-Gaudet as a member of the Housing and Fair Rent Commission.
Second.
All right, any questions or concerns? Let's see. Whoop. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Thank you. The next one is Councilor Pendleton.
Motion to approve 11A2 through 11A4 as a first reading on the consent agenda. Resolution appointing Karen Myers as a member of the South Windsor Arts Commission. Number 3 is resolution appointing William Myers as a member of the South Windsor Arts Commission. And number 4 is resolution appointing Megan Rouillard as an alternate member to the Park and Rec Commission.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any questions or concerns? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? All right, passes unanimously. Councilor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion to approve 11B1 through 11B4 as a second reading on the consent agenda. Do I have to go one at a time with these and read the whole thing?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah,
yeah, I
okay.
think you just
Yep.
read that.
Resolution reappointing James Hennessy as a member of the Parks and Recreation Commission. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby reappoints James Hennessy as a member of the Parks and Recreation for a term ending December 31st, 2027. Keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, resolution appointing James Murray as a member of the Water Pollution Control Authority to fill the expired term of Joseph Body. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby appoints James Murray as a member of the Water Pollution Control Authority for a term ending November 30th, 2029. Number 3, resolution appointing Bridget Butler as a member of the Social Justice and Racial Equity Commission. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby appoints Bridget Butler as a member of the Social Justice and Racial Equity Commission for a term ending November 30th, 2027. Number 4, resolution appointing Diana McNeil as a member of the Social Justice and Racial Equity Commission. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby appoints Diana McNeil as a member of the Social Justice and Racial Equity Commission for a term ending November 30th, 2027.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Item 12, we don't have any unfinished business. We are up to 13A, the budget presentation from the town manager, Mr. Maniscalco.
Okay. All right, thank you everybody for coming tonight and watching. I appreciate the council's attention for really the kickoff here to our budget season. Myself and the town staff have been working hard since December on putting everything together, and you know, hopefully I think you'll find that we've put a lot of time and thought and energy into this, and you know, moving forward, I'm looking forward to working with all of you to do what we possibly can to do the absolute best for the residents of South Windsor. So moving forward to your first slide, I think as all of you remember, you passed a budget policy statement on 12/15/2025. That's super helpful for myself and the rest of the staff in terms of providing some guidance. And the 4 main points out of that budget policy statement are right here, and I'm sure everybody can read them themselves. And hopefully, as you see through this process, you'll see that we try to make sure all those 4 main points actually do occur. But what happens after your budget policy statement? So I put together a memo to the town staff using your budget policy statement, providing them guidance. So first and foremost, in that memo to the town staff, I provide them with your policy statement and tell them they need to follow your policy statement. I also tell them that they have to budget costs to maintain the current levels of services, provide a clear picture of department needs. They have to justify current requests versus 5-year actuals. That's kind of my way of looking at our budget. I'll take our 5-year actual expenditures and look at what those current requests are and say, hey, how does this look compared to those 5 years? Are we asking for more? Are we asking for less? Do we not actually spend what we're asking for? And we kind of bring those items in line where we can. And then lastly, we have agreements. We have collective bargaining agreements that we need to follow. We have that need to be put in place. So I issued my letter on the 7th of January. So my proposed budget for 26-27 is $169,982,215. That is an increase of $11 million. Oh, I'm gonna just big number, $11 million, or 7.4% overall for the community. So let's start breaking down what that actually means and what that looks like. So every year when we talk about the budget, we look at the town budget and we talk about our expenditures in terms of 4 big buckets: capital, debt service, town operations, and education. These are those 4 big buckets, and these are their increases. So you could see, for example, capital, our capital budget is going up 5.31%. Debt service is going up 6.93%. The debt service, that's like our bills that are due, our credit card, essentially. Our town operations is going up 5.9%. That's our daily keeping the lights on, putting people on the street to do their jobs. And then lastly, we saw the education proposal the other day at 8.16%. So how did we get to the proposal that we're at right now? So this chart is a great chart and an example of what that looks like in the process that we go through. So for example, under town operations, you can see the department heads actually, with their request, was at $44.89 million. I made about $1 million in adjustments or reductions, which brought down my proposal to 43.807. You could see we also modified our debt. So we had a number that we thought our debt was going to be at. We recently went out to the market, right, and we issued bonds. So now we understand what that interest rate is going to be. We did a little better than what we had estimated we were going to do. So we actually saved almost $100,000, $99,222 in that activity. You can see I did not change capital. The capital request is in there at the amount that the capital committee approved. And then lastly, I don't actually have the authority to change the Board of Ed's budget. That's the Board of Ed and the Town Council. So as you can see, the Board of Ed adjustments in there, and that's coming to you at their proposal of $106 million. So moving forward, so this is a list of all the adjustments that I made, both forward, backward, and upside down. You can see, we cut certain positions that were requested. We cut certain projects that were requested. We moved certain vehicle purchases to leasing, all kinds of stuff. We also increased in a couple areas. We added $35,000 because there's a new law that's requiring us to actually do inspections of all the dams within our community. So that's a new deep law that we have to do for that. So those are all the different changes that I made, and it brought those requests down from an 8.52% request to all of you. I brought it down to a 5.9%. So again, in conversations with the mayor and looking at some previous presentations, there was kind of like this aspirational list. What are some of the things we'd like to accomplish in the future that we're not actually doing in the budget? So this is that aspirational list from our department heads. I'm not going to go through it. There's a lot in there, and there's a whole lot of things that we could be doing that our department heads, I will give them a ton of credit. They are extreme professionals at the end of the day, and they want to do the absolute best they possibly can all the time. And it's difficult sometimes to tell them that, hey, we understand this makes a lot of sense, but it just can't work in this budget this year. So these are some of the things that we ended up not doing. So let's move forward and look at our expenditures over a 5-year picture. So this is kind of how that proposal looks. Of course, as you can see, as is normal, our budget's been going up. So you could see 5 years ago in 2023, the town government budget was $38.1 million. Now in 2027, our proposal is $43.8. Additionally, we've heard a little bit of interest in a 3-year average and what that might look like. So as you can see on the right side, we've got some bars there. You can see on a percentage basis, you can see the town operations over a 3-year average has gone up 3.27%. Our debt's gone up 4.9%. Capital's gone up 3.09%, and the Board of Ed at 6.64%. So how is your dollar spent? When you pay your taxes, how does that get broken up? This is the easiest way to look at it. As you can see, 63% goes to education, 5% goes to debt associated with education, 2% goes to capital, 4% is going to town debt, that's roads and other infrastructure projects, and then lastly, 26% is going to our town operations. This is pretty standard when you look at a lot of communities. It's in this general ballpark for breaking up that dollar. So let's talk about our drivers and our budget drivers. What is it that's making up that increase for the general government budget? And start digging down a little deeper into it. So the total change for general government, big picture, is $2.4 million. That's 5.9%, as we said earlier. So as all of you know, the business that we do is a people-driven business. We don't have things that can be done by computers. We have to put people actually on the street in plow trucks. We have to have police officers driving around in police cars. We have to have people here to actually take and process applications for permits and other things like that. So we're very much a people-driven process, and as a result, you can see our big driver is that big salary and benefits line. That line includes our full-time, part-time salaries, our pensions, Social Security, Medicare, and insurance. And just to kind of give you a little bit of an idea what some of those numbers look like, about $250,000 in that line item is for health insurance, $113,000 is for Social Security and Medicare. The pension number is actually a reduction this year, so we were actually able to reduce that by $102,000. For anybody who follows really close, the town has been trying to sunset its pension plan, so little by little that number should start coming down, and we saw a really good year with our interest rates, and with not adding any additional people in there, we were able to comfortably bring that number down. Part-time and temporary salaries are going up $103,000, and then full-time salaries associated with our collective bargaining mostly is going up $597,000. So a couple of those other items, you can see department equipment, utilities, of course, electric, water, we all know what those costs are like in our own homes. Maintenance contracts for things like our HVAC, all of those have been going up this last year, and those are all drivers for our operating budget. So kind of looking historically and looking back historically at the town budget overall, taking a 10-year snapshot of what this looks like for the operating budget. On the average, we see the general government budget going up 3.09%. You can see we had a real big year in 2019. That was my predecessor's last budget, I believe, that he came in with. And then after that, we've kind of been doing 4s, 3s, and we've had a couple lower numbers in there. One of the interesting conversations we did have as staff is it seems like we've been doing kind of 2 low years and then a high year. So that kind of matches in this year if you look at it. And then, as I said, we are a people-driven business, and a lot of what we do is about people. So, of course, everybody wants to know what our head count is. So you can see back in 2023, we had 196 employees. Moving forward for the government side in 2027, I'm proposing 200 employees. In 2024, we added a dispatcher and a fire inspector. In 2026, if anybody was watching the budget then, the chief came in looking for an officer and talked about a plan for 3 officers over a period of time. So, we ended up giving him an officer in 2026, and he's asked for that second officer in 2027, which we're recommending as well here. So this is just another way of taking a look at the town operations budget by expenditures and comparing it to the overall budget. So you could see the chart on the left compared to the overall budget. The general government has gone in 2023 was 28.4%, and that has actually gone down over time. I think if you looked big picture where those percentages are, I think, you know, general government's kind of gone down. Have seen a little bit of an increase in terms of our debt, and some of the other, of those other four buckets. But also, if you want to just see it in numbers, you could see on the right there, back in 2023, we were at 38.1 million, and then moving forward, we're now at 43.8 is the proposed. So capital. I think everybody likes to talk about capital because those are the fun projects that include, you know, roads, sidewalks, playgrounds, sewers, all the good stuff that we do to make sure that our community is a great, desirable place. Our proposed capital budget is $3,614,178. This includes all the department heads' Tier 1 and Tier 2 requests. So all the department's top 2 requests are included in there. And there is actually an ordinance I would draw your attention to that requires capital to go up by 1% every year, plus up to 5% of the grand list growth. So that is, I believe we're at about 2% for the grand list growth piece in this proposal. So here's just a quick look at some of those capital projects we talked about. You've got everything in here from schools to parks to emergency management to communication systems, underground fuel storage tanks, things with the community center, you name it, it's in that list for Tier 1. And then when we go on to Tier 2, we've got things for our school, our police department, our IT department, and then also boundless playground improvements. And we're going to get into those projects in much more depth as we move forward in the presentations to the council later on. So, in terms of debt service includes capital leases, principal, and interest on projects approved by referendum. So as I said, you know, that's kind of like the town's credit card and the way things work. We're looking at an increase in our debt service of about $1,012,304, or 6.93%. A lot of those projects under all that debt include our 4 elementary schools, a lot of road and drainage work, open space purchases, and then our sewer plant upgrade. So just again, looking at that total debt, you could kind of see where those all outline and how they all fit together. If you look at the circular chart there on the left, you can see general purpose, overall it's 40.78%. Again, those are the roads, those sorts of projects. Probably open spaces included in that. Education is at 58.41%, and then sewers are at 0.81%. Oh, actually, I should just mention one thing to you. In terms of this other chart on the right, we do have a debt policy. And our debt policy says that our debt should not exceed 10%. It should be at or below 10%. We're currently at 9.18%, so we're kind of just right about where we should be. So that is our policy that we keep in place. So I think it's important that we talk about the budget cap. This has been a topic of conversation in previous years. For those of you who are aware of it, the state of Connecticut put a budget cap in place of 2.5% for municipalities, or the rate of inflation as determined by the Office of Policy and Management. This year, the Office of Policy and Management has determined rate of inflation is at 2.64%. So as you can see, we are not going to meet the budget cap by the state of Connecticut. So what does that mean? That means that we would not be eligible for MRSA dollars, which is municipal revenue sharing grants from the state. The secret to MRSA dollars is actually that the state does not fund that grant, so there's no money actually at risk. We don't budget for it in our town budget. The state doesn't actually fund it. So while we're not meeting the budget cap, there's very minimal, if any, risk for the community moving forward. Let's talk about the other side of the budget. You know, we talked a lot about expenditures. Let's talk about the other side, which is revenues. And where's the money going to come from that we're going to bring in? So the other part of my budget is I do propose the revenues. And our revenues actually have to equal the same amount that we have for our expenditures by law. We have to submit a balanced budget. So as you can see, the large majority of our revenues are coming from property taxes, at 86.05%. You can see interest income is a little bit. That's actually been going up a little bit over the last couple of years. Local revenues at 1.45%. Those are things like fees with permits and things like that. You can see intergovernmental. Now those are large grants we're getting from the state or federal government that are annual grants that we can depend upon. Probably the biggest one that everybody is aware of is education cost sharing. And then lastly, transfers. Our transfers are the dollars that we end up taking from our general fund and our tax stabilization fund to kind of help smooth in our any tax increases that come through. So allocations of our revenues, you can see again, local revenues, we're looking at 10,800, transfers of 529,000, state grants. You can see our state grant, we budgeted that for an increase, and then we also increased our taxes to make up that difference. So let's talk about that tax stabilization fund. As you can see, historically, the original tax stabilization fund ordinance said that we were only allowed to use 500,000. Back in 24-25, that ordinance was actually changed and allowed the town council and myself to use upwards of 3 million. So we've increased the fund and what we can keep in that fund, and we've actually increased the use of it. So as you can see in the last couple budgets, we've used 2.5 million. In the proposed budget, due to the size of the increase and everything that we're looking at, we've actually recommended that we're going to use 3 million this year. One of the things about our tax stabilization is while we're proposing it as a revenue source, if you look at the actual blue column there, it says 0 all the way through, right? So one of the things we like to try to do is we like to try not to use it, if at all possible. So if our revenues come in better, if we can save money in certain places, we try not to use this. This is kind of our last resort place that we have to go in order to kind of keep everything balanced and running right. So ECS, our education cost sharing grant, that's the largest grant that the town gets. As you can see in the gray column, that's the governor's estimated number that comes out right after the State of the State address. The governor releases his budget with a number of what South Windsor is going to get. As you can see, it's typically 11.41 million. And then as the legislature goes through its process and puts the budget together and approves it, that number is different. So as you can see what the actual is versus what we actually get, we budget pretty close to what we actually get. So this year, what we're proposing to budget is 11.18 million. Our anticipated for the current fiscal year is 1.2, and what we actually got in 2025 was 11.2. So we're hoping that we're about as close as we feel comfortable to being able to get there. Additionally, it should be noted, since we have a magnet school in our community, about $400,000+ comes out of that grant to pay for that magnet school as well. And then lastly, our grand list. You know, our grand list is where we generate the value and figure out how our taxes are all paid. So this is the biggest number that we have in the whole presentation. I'd like to read it for everybody. So the value of our grand list is $3,871,848,955. So that is the value of everybody's homes, businesses, everything that we own in this community. That is what that is what our assessor values all those items as. So this year, our grand list actually went up a little bit. Thankfully, it went up 1.35%. Unfortunately, it's not as big as it was back in 2019, 2020. But you can see it did go up a little bit. 2022 is a reval year, so as a result, you have a spike, because what happens is you have a rebalancing in those years in terms of percentage-wise. If you look at our overall grand list in that donut chart there, you can see 81% is coming from real estate. Those are our homes. You can see 8% coming from motor vehicles, and then 11% coming from personal property. Now, you're saying to yourself, what does that all mean to us, that 1.35%? It actually means that our grand list is gonna generate $551,529 additional dollars due to that increase in value this year. Let's talk about our mill rate, because a lot of people like to talk about the mill rate and how much the mill rate's going up associated with the budget. And this year, our proposed mill rate associated with the budget that we're proposing is 38.09 mils. That's an increase of 2.48 mils, or 6.97%. You need to remember that our motor vehicles are capped, associated with the motor vehicle cap from the state of Connecticut at 32.46. So as a result, the real estate has to actually pick up the difference a little bit in that. And then, of course, we're going to ask, what's driving that mill rate up and down, and how do we get to that number? So as you can see in this chart, if you look at the left side, increases on the mill rate come out to 3.36. Decreases on the mill rate are actually 0.88. So you can see increasers are capital, debt, town operations, and education. All of those are pushing up on that mill rate. And then non-tax revenues and the grand list growth are pulling that number back down a little bit. So how do we use all this to kind of start calculating the mill rate and getting all that together? So essentially we take our proposed expenditures, which is $169,982,215. We do less our non-tax revenues, which is $25,759,200. We also do less our motor vehicle revenue, because we have that capped, of $10,334,660. And that equals the amount that we have to actually raise from real estate and personal property taxes. And so the amount that we have to come up with is $133,888,355. We divide that by the value of 1 mil, which we know the value of 1 mil in South Windsor is $3,514,719, and that gets us our mill rate of 38.09. So everybody's sitting here going, what does that mean to me? And that's a really great question. So one of the things we like to do is we like to look at the real estate impact and the tax impact for our residents. So what we have here is, in this chart on the top at least, we're going to look at that one first. That is, if you were to look at what we believe is an average home in the town of South Windsor with an assessed value of $300,000, that means its market value would be around $428,000. Looking at our old mill rate, where we currently are today, the taxes would be about $10,683. Looking at the proposed mill rate moving forward, we're looking at taxes of $11,427. That's an increase of $744 for the year, or 6.97%. Now, if we look at motor vehicles, it's a little different now that they've changed, going from Kelly Blue Book to the MSRP value at the state. So as a result, due to depreciation, you're actually seeing a reduction in your vehicle costs. So a valued vehicle at $31,000 is assessed at $19,000, and the taxes would be $637 rather than, actually, I'm sorry, the taxes would be $637. We're bringing that down to $602 due to the depreciation model that they've got. So, as we talked about, this is just the beginning of a much larger process, and there's a lot of conversations and a lot of work for all of us to do. I wanted to make sure that we got all the dates and information and times and opportunities available for all of you at the council level, as well as the public and residents to come out. You know, the time to participate and get involved in the budget process is now. And it's involved with our public hearings and all the work sessions and workshops. I can't tell you how many times we don't hear from residents until they're paying their tax bill. At that point, it's way too late. So the time to get involved is today, and it's now. And with that being said, I would like to say thank you to all the residents as well as the council and the staff that, put this together and worked so hard to make South Windsor a great place. I am always available to answer whatever questions anybody has related to the budget. My email is up there as well as phone number, and I'm happy to try to answer whatever I can. And with that, that is the end of our presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Maniscalco. As it's a normal process here, we don't have any questions tonight, but I just wanted to repeat one thing the town manager did say, because I know when I go home and go on Facebook a little bit later tonight, I don't know what the tax increase is going to be, but I can pretty much guarantee it's not going to be 6.97. That's the starting point. That's not the end point. All right, I think everybody would pretty well agree with that. All right, we are up to 13B. Councilor Delnicki.
Okay, let's see. 13B. Got relaxing there. Resolution establishing administrative fees for DMV put on and take off. Whereas pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 7-148 and 12-166, a municipality and its collector of revenue are authorized to establish policies and charge reasonable administrative fees in connection with collection of municipal taxes, and whereas Connecticut General Statutes 14-33 requires municipalities to submit motor vehicle put-on files to the Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV, annually, including submissions in August and February for delinquent motor vehicle tax accounts. And whereas the town is required to generate and transmit takeoff reports to the DMV on a daily basis in order to clear motor vehicle tax delinquencies once payment has been received. And whereas these put on and takeoff processes require significant administrative time, system resources, coordination with the DMV, and ongoing staff support. And whereas the DMV assesses an annual fee to municipalities for participation in the motor vehicle tax collection system. And whereas the establishment of administrative fees for motor vehicle put-on and take-off services would help offset the annual DMV fee and assist in funding necessary staffing resources, including a part-time position within the Collector of Revenue Office. And now therefore be it resolved that the town of South Windsor hereby authorizes the Collector of Revenue to assess a fee of $5 for each motor vehicle account that is reported to DMV, and assesses a fee of $20 for any taxpayer that requests immediate clearance effective July 1st, 2026.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Anybody have any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. And I just want to go back up. Mr. Maniscalco, I do apologize. I should have thanked you, the finance director, and staff for all the work that you've put in up to now. And kind of the challenge going forward is, again, while the tax rate's only just begun, your work and your staff's work has only just begun. And as we saw from the schedule, lots going to happen over the next couple of months. All right, we are up to 13C. Councilor Cordero.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution establishing a cash rounding policy. Whereas the town of South Windsor receives fees, taxes, and other revenue payments from the public by cash, check, credit card, and other electronic means. And whereas the U.S. Treasury has seized production and circulation of 1-cent coins, which is causing inefficiencies in cash handling. And whereas many public and private organizations have implemented fair rounding policies for cash transactions since there has been no state or federal guidance. And whereas it is in the best interest of the town to streamline operations while ensuring fairness and transparency in all payment collections. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of South Windsor hereby adopts the following cash rounding policy effective July 1st, 2026.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right.
Second.
Any questions, concerns?
Nope.
Councilor Cordero. Nope. All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. We are up to 13D. Deputy Mayor Paterna.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a resolution setting a public hearing to receive citizen input on the proposed 26-27 general government budget. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby sets Monday, April 20th, 2026 at 8 p.m. in the council chambers of the South Windsor Town Hall, 1540 Sullivan Avenue, South Windsor, Connecticut, as the time and place for a public hearing to receive citizen input on the fiscal year 26-27 proposed general government budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. 13E, Deputy Mayor Paterna again.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a resolution accepting the resignation of Suresh Jayaprasad from the Social Justice and Racial Equity Commission. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby accepts with regret the resignation of Suresh Jayaprasad from the Social Justice and Racial Equity Commission effective March 2nd, 2026. And be it further resolved that the South Windsor Town Council extends its thanks to Suresh Jayaprasad for the time dedicated to serving the community by membership on the Social Justice and Racial Equity Commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments, concerns, comments? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, any abstentions? Passes unanimously. You know, we've been doing these for, since the election in November, and I haven't commented on any of them, but I guess I just wanted to make a general comment. One of the things that makes our community so unique is just how many people volunteer. And, not to just use this one person, but there literally are hundreds of people every day doing, actually more than that when you include all the volunteer coaches and stuff, but it's just an amazing community. And, at some point, Mr. Maniscalco, do you still do like a yearly thank you to volunteers?
So there's a volunteer recognition that goes on through the senior center. We used to do a volunteer recognition event on an annual basis. Unfortunately, that was cut out of the budget a number of years ago at this point. It's something that we have talked about and trying to do on a smaller scale, to be very frank. I think it was done at a pretty large scale and at a sizable expense. We have discussed trying to do something on a smaller scale, but we're slightly concerned as to how that'll be perceived in relation to what people's memories are. So,
okay, maybe we can talk about that. And I apologize. 13F, Councilor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution accepting the resignation of Ronick Afros from the Park and Recreation Commission. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby accepts with regret the resignation of Ronick Afros as an alternate member of the Park and Recreation Commission effective March 9th, 2026, and be it further resolved that the South Windsor Town Council extends its thanks to Ronick Afros for the time dedicated to serving the community by membership on the Park and Recreation Commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, anybody have any comments? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Councilor Pendleton.
Excuse me, thank you. Okay, I'm here, thank you. Resolution approving the refund batch number 15 for 5 refunds totaling $1,769.87. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby approves 5 tax refunds, the total of said refunds being $1,769.87 as more fully described in Exhibit A.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Anybody
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Item 14, passage of ordinances. Councilor Cordero.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I pass this ordinance. Resolution dissolving the Mass Transit and Highway Advisory Commission. Whereas the Mass Transit and Highway Advisory Committee was formed by way of a Town Council ordinance, ordinance number 96, adopted on May 7th, 1979. And whereas the Town Council has reviewed has reviewed recommendations of a subcommittee of the Town Council regarding the dissolution of inactive boards and commissions, including the Mass Transit and Highway Advisory Committee, which subcommittee recommends the dissolution of the Mass Transit and Highway Advisory Committee. Now therefore be resolved that the Town Council hereby approves an ordinance to dissolve the Mass Transit and Highway Advisory Committee, and that such dissolution shall be effective as of the 10th day following the publication of the final passage of this proposed ordinance by the Town Council.
All right. Attorney Corella, just for the record, you were part of this process, and what we're doing is okay?
Yes. Yeah. You had your public hearing. Right? The committee proposed the recommended change. This is the only way to dissolve that committee, and that's being done properly.
Right, and I should have specified, and the reason we're dissolving it is because it's not necessary anymore?
Not active.
There were a number of reasons for a variety of different ones. I believe this one had not met for a number of years, and it was adopted in the 70s when it had to do with the expansion of I-291, and it just hasn't met in years and really is not necessary anymore.
Okay.
I think that was the committee's conclusion, not my conclusion, the committee's conclusion.
Thank you. I was asked by a member of the public, so, okay. All right, all those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. 14B, Councilor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a resolution amending the meeting schedule of the South Windsor Arts Commission. Whereas the South Windsor Arts Commission was formed by way of an ordinance number 235, adopted on October 18th, 2021, and whereas the Town Council has reviewed the recommendations of a subcommittee of the Town Council regarding the dissolution of inactive boards and commissions, including the South Windsor Arts Commission, in which subcommittee recommends this amendment to ordinance number 235, changing the meeting schedule of the South Windsor Arts Commission from monthly to quarterly. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council hereby approves an amendment to ordinance number 235, the South Windsor Arts Commission, to amend the second sentence in section 2-466 of such ordinance to revise the meeting date by striking the word monthly and inserting in lieu thereof the word quarterly. Such sentence to be revised as follows. The Commission will hold regular quarterly meetings according to the schedule determined by appointed members and may hold special meetings as determined by the membership. And be it further resolved that such amendment shall be effective as of the 10th day following the publication of the final passage of this proposed amendment to ordinance number 235 by the Town Council.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. Any questions, concerns?
No, through you, Mr. Mayor, the only thing that I just want to make sure that people are aware of is that, where is it at? To amend, the Commission will hold regular quarterly meetings, but they may hold special meetings as determined by the membership, which is to say that they don't just have to meet quarterly. That is the schedule, but if they do need to meet and hold a special meeting, they can do that on their own, determined by their membership. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. All those in favor? Aye?
Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. We're up to item 15, public comment. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak at this time? All right, so I'm not, okay. All right, all right, I'm gonna then just read the announcement again. Public input shall not exceed 30 minutes. When recognized by the mayor, the speaker shall approach the lectern, give their name and address. Speakers shall avoid personal attacks or impugning or alleging an improper motive to any person. The speaker may address the council on any matter within our jurisdiction. The speaker shall limit their speaking time to 5 minutes. The town council does not respond at the same meeting you speak to us. And again, would anybody like to speak to the town at this time? Why don't you come on up and again, just give us your name and address. And you got to hit the button. No, there's a button.
There.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Like I said, good evening, everyone. My name is Mario Costa. I live at 55 Oxbow Lane in South Windsor. Together with my mom, Marie, we own a small business in town at 75 Commerce Way, and which we're a WBMB owned company. And you know, I'm a proud Rotarian. I'm just a past president, and I've worked hard for the past 12 to 15 years, involved in town projects. We're a concrete contractor that have completed some projects in town, always as a low bidder. Did Orchard Hill, Eli Terry, Pleasant Valley School, PR Smith. Did work going way back to the stamp concrete at the town hall, and I've been involved with Parks and Rec and helping finishing concrete work at the splash pad just recently, and some curb at the baseball fields. Also did Pleasant Valley on Clark Street, and just recently completed the sidewalk connectivity just this past year. The reason I'm here is it's not easy for me to be here, by the way, but I was encouraged to speak. This year, there's a job that came out to bid called Improvements at Veterans Memorial Park, which, in the end, the standard job. I grabbed the plans. It was a lump sum price. And I said, right there at the bid opening, and I was the apparent low bidder. My number's $262,000, $315,000 lower than anybody else. Job opening was on a Monday. Friday, I received a letter, an email with a letter signed by the town manager awarding the job to the lowest and most qualified bidder, which again was $262,315 higher than me. Okay. I mean, $263,000 is nothing to sneeze at. Just watching your budget, that would cover for the utilities for the town, but that's besides the point. You asked me why my price was so low. Well, maybe I'm not coming from 50 miles away, and I tend to use town companies like Design Professionals has been involved with my company to survey my jobs at the schools. The big number was Atlas Metal that was going to provide $80,000 worth of metal for this specific job. But none of that bothers me more than the way this was dealt with. I felt disrespected, never came in for a scope review or having sit down to go over any issues the town would have with me. It was very heartbreaking to get that letter on an email that I was copied together with a company that got it, or the companies that got it. And for that matter, it left me very, very disrespected from this town. I think any other town would have done a scope review, would have sat down with the contractor, regardless if he's a town contractor or if he's coming from another town. To me, that's how you do business. You respect contractors the same way they respect you. So that's what I have to say. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to speak to the council at this time? All right, seeing none. Item 17 is, item 16, communication from the council. Is there anybody? Deputy Mayor Paterno.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to clear up some mistaken assumptions about tax abatements that we heard tonight. And I just want to share one figure with you, because the reason tax abatements are given is to bring businesses in town to keep taxes lower for residents. And if you look at 2024-25, out of 10 of the top 10 taxpayers, 7 of them are companies that receive tax abatement from this town. So yes, they pay some lower taxes when they get here in the first few years, but it comes back to pay the town 10 times over. So I just want that to be clear, that 7 of the top 10 taxpayers are companies that receive tax abatements. And we protect the town. If something changes in the first 10 years, that company, and they want to leave town or close their business, they have to pay the back taxes from year 1 of the contract. So I just want to make sure that information is out there. Thank you.
Councilor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My announcement is far less heady than the deputy mayor's. I just wanted to wish everyone a happy St. Patrick's Day for all who practiced. And hope everyone enjoys the day tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, now we're up to item 17, executive session. Deputy Mayor Paterna.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move we go into executive session to discuss pursuant topics to Connecticut General Statutes 1-206E, discussion of the Buckland Gateway, and invite the town manager and town attorney to join us. And the name of the...
I believe we may be asking Mr. Sager and
Mr. Sager,
his
yes.
team at a certain point in as well, just for the record to reflect it.
All right, and Mr. Sager. Thank you.
And just a reminder to the public, we'll be ending the meeting from executive session. So for all intents and purposes, this is the end of the public part of the meeting. All right? Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you.